Wade MacNeil, thanks for joining us, man.
My pleasure.
So where are you at right now?
I'm in St. Catharines, Ontario, which is kind of right by Niagara Falls,
Nice.
where I grew up. And yeah, so I'm like back writing some music with some friends around here, and also just visiting my old man. It's been good. He's been cooking me dinner. I'm driving his car around.
Yeah. doing your laundry. Yeah. There was an SNL skit recently about going home for Thanksgiving or whatever, and it's like I'm a back home baller, and it's like parents doing my laundry and cooking my meals and all that.
Yeah, I don't understand what the huge rush for me to move out was.
Yeah. Yeah.
Doesn't make sense.
Well, you had to go out and be a rock star for a little while, but it's always nice to come home. Yeah, I feel like 2020 has been especially popular for going home, but then, and then also naturally during the holidays. So it's always nice to get back home. But I'm super excited to talk about Random Acts of Violence, the new horror film that you're doing the soundtrack for. But before that, you've had an amazing career so far. Alexis on Fire, and you're singing for Gallows now. So I'd love to hear, how you got into music in the first place.
I think the most important thing and the most important person in probably my entire music career is when I'm probably about 12 years old, I get this guitar teacher shortly after I got a guitar named Dennis. And he's like 18. And
how old were you?
Pardon me?
How old were you at the time?
I'm probably like 12.
Okay.
So I've just gotten a guitar. This guy who's like 18, like long-haired goth guy is my guitar teacher. And he like shows me the Misfits. And I like bring cassettes in, and he teaches me how to lift music by ear, and he teaches me how to play White Zombie songs, and I learned a lot about music through Dennis, but more importantly, he was kind of the only person that was encouraging about music. Whereas the more I played guitar, I think more people in my life were like, stop playing the guitar. Do your homework. This is not a thing. This is not a career you can have. This is quit fucking around. And Dennis, although he was just a guitar teacher at the time, was he's like, music can be your life. Look, music is my life. I'm doing this. And he was in some local, goth rock bands, I guess. And so he had the most profound effect on me as a young kid, and made me feel like it was possible to do it.
Yeah, I would say. How'd you meet him?
He was the guitar teacher I got assigned at the little music shop.
That's awesome.
Well, I had some other dude. I had this older Italian dude that played a PRS. It's just a bad sign right there. Not the Italian part, the PRS part.
Right.
And so it's I went in there and I was learning Jingle Bells for a couple of weeks, and then week 3 I had this long-haired kid in a Marilyn Manson shirt, and it got better.
Yeah, I that's an awesome guitar teacher to have. Now, were you already kind of into that music, or were you just oh, this guy's cool, I'm gonna and I like that he's into this, so I want to play this stuff too? I know you said he introduced you to the Misfits and some other stuff.
Yeah, I mean, I guess I was, at that point I would have been listening to Metallica, and White Zombie, and kind of bigger, kind of metal stuff.
Got it.
And then I probably knew who Nine Inch Nails was, and but
so he got you a little deeper in the
punk he got me
crates.
A lot deeper. He taught me a lot about music, and and then it was just diving into the wormhole from there, and then yeah, so I think he exposed me to a lot of stuff it may have taken me longer to get to.
Yeah, I feel like that could have a profound effect on someone who's 12 years old, having someone say, "You can do this for a living," rather than everyone else telling you that, you got to get a real job, so better get good grades and all that.
He was like, this dude, Danzig? And I was like, yeah. Like, he used to have a punk band. Check this shit out.
That's awesome. I mean, Misfits are a good place to start, in Danzig, hell yeah. So you're playing guitar, you're getting some musical inspiration from your teacher. How soon is it before you start, jamming your own tunes and maybe putting a band together or something like that?
When I'm 14, I go see his band open up for the Misfits on
Awesome.
American Psycho tour. They played in St. Catharines,
Okay.
which was a huge deal because not a lot of, like, Toronto's about an hour and a half away, so
So Dennis was really doing it then,
it.
Yeah.
This is a big part of the early years.
Yeah.
So I go to that show with like my buddy Chris, who I like played hockey and baseball with and stuff. After that show, like the next day, we start a band.
Nice.
And Chris is the bass player of Alexisonfire. We've been in like every band we've ever been in together. We played on the same hockey team when we were like 6. It's adorable. So yeah, I kind of like jump into it at like 14, start a band. We can't play at like bars around here. So we start doing gigs at this Chinese restaurant. They let me promote shows there as a like 14, 15-year-old.
Nice.
And they like serve us beer.
Nice.
Yeah, so it's like, I think they're like, I like put on a show, they give me like 6 beers and they keep all the money.
Okay.
So yeah, we start playing shows at the Kingwa Court because like we're too young to go to get into the bars even. And our bands are too bad to play at the bars. And this kind of like little punk scene starts up around these like weird places that'll let us play. So there's like, after we start doing shows at the Chinese restaurant, there's a Jamaican bar like up the street that like the dudes are just like, I don't know if they thought it was like funny or whatever, but like they let us do shows there. And then the owner, Vince, would just like sit in the back with all of his buddies and play dominoes. Like they kept more of an eye on, they also still were serving beer to 15-year-olds. But they kept an eye on things, like
Right.
it was to play dominoes in the back of the bar.
You guys just happen to find the coolest business owners in the area. You guys really knew how to sniff them out, huh?
Yeah. So yeah, we start doing shows at the Palm Grove, which is like this like Jamaican club, and like it almost seems like a fucking Saturday Night Live skit. Like Vince, like the owner, like introduces the bands before we go on, and like, just like the thickest Jamaican accent, and like
That's awesome.
it's really funny. And he's like introducing these like bands, like fucking, I don't know. I know there's this thing that's just like almost like, this seems like it didn't happen, but my friend's band was called The Band, Banned. It was just like this real Who's on First situation.
Right.
Like, what's the name of the band? And like, we're called The Band. What's the name of the band?
Yeah.
Remember that.
Who's on first, or what's my tattoo say? Dude, what's mine say? Sweet. Yeah.
And I guess, yeah, just like start playing a lot of shows like around here. And then I guess I met Dallas, who is a guitar player of Alexis, through that scene. Like he came with Joel, who ended up being our manager, who was just like the older dude that worked at the record shop in St. Catharines. They came to say, they're like, I heard these fucking kids are playing shows like at this Chinese restaurant. They came to our Halloween show. And I played with his other band, and we like became buds, started skateboarding together and stuff. And then probably about the time when I was 17, we started Alexis. And that was kind of like all the kind of dudes around here that were playing in different bands, and like, but really like really wanting to play. And when we started that, we just really like hit the ground running. And it's crazy. Like we're coming up on doing it for like 20 years.
Wow.
It's like a real trip.
Yeah, congrats, man. That's quite an accomplishment. And the playing in these little odd venues. I don't know if you've seen it. I've seen it's like kind of like a joke. It was like on Vine, and it's been memeified on these like, you know, punk accounts and everything. But there's like a video of these guys, and they're like, let's do this Denny's, and they're like in the middle of a Denny's, and then there's like a big circle pit. But it's just hilarious because it's, you know, it sounds like a very similar situation to what you guys were doing.
I
But
mean, if I really wish we could have got to Denny's, you know,
yeah, exactly.
that would have been the real
That would have been
something if we could play at Denny's.
that would have been the pinnacle. Yeah. But so you guys are playing more with Alexis, and how did you guys, you know, take it from that from playing, you know, Chinese restaurants and Jamaican spots to getting a little bit you know, more structured and getting into a little bit better venues?
I mean, well, like, so, I mean, at this point, I'm 17, I've been promoting punk shows since I was like 14. And like at this point, I was like bringing bands up to Niagara and stuff like that. So
Nice.
Alexis starts, I'm like booking the band like around North America, I guess, like through Canada and stuff. I'm booking like short tours up to Quebec and back, and then somehow connect with some dude in Richmond, Virginia, and book an American tour. Um, and so we're doing this kind of as much as we conceivably can without me dropping out of high school. Which is like, I've got the principal as like this really normal guy in my last year of high school. And he's like, I see something's happening for you. You're going to get through this year. I'm going to talk to your teachers. You're not going to drop out. You're going to get through this year, and we're going to make this happen. And so, you know, he says something like, if you're gone 55 days, I've got to expel you. So, you know, I'm gone 54 days.
Yeah, I was gonna say that's
on like my March break, and you know, we leave on like a Friday, drive up and like play a few gigs, drive home like Monday morning. I show up for school really tired. Like at this point, like Alexis is playing like everywhere we conceivably can. We're playing like VFW halls, basements, some bars. And then kind of like I graduate high school and we just like start touring almost every day of the year. And one of the things that really jumps off is Canada at that time had this grant system to make music videos. And so we make, at the age of like 17, we make, and almost everyone in the band is that age as well. Like our guitar player is a bit older, but just a few years. So when we're like 17, we get given like $30,000 to make a music video.
Wow, that's awesome.
And, like this, you know, a director like applies for it, gets the grants and stuff like that. And
sure.
This guy Mark, who'd made a bunch of like skate videos around here and is quite a bit older than us, and we like just really did it right. Like spent the money on like film, and he hired some like great people, and we made a really nice music video, like a performance video of us playing. And somehow that gets like picked up onto like Much Music, which is like our MTV, or was at that time, and starts getting played like a ton.
Nice.
I can't really tell you why that happened. In hindsight, maybe I just see it as one of those kind of like cultural shifts where like it's reactionary to what's going on. Like we're coming at, this is like 2001, and maybe we've just reached like peak like Backstreet Boys and all this stuff, like really glossy pop music. And this is something that's like, what the fuck is this? Kids screaming in a room, smashing their guitars around. So somehow that starts getting a lot of traction, and then we start being able to play places that we've never played before, and there's people there.
So that was a real pivotal point, it sounds like. And it's awesome. You know, I've heard about how the Canadian government does this. They'll they want to promote artists from Canada, so they'll grant grants to certain video directors or musicians. I once knew a manager who was especially interested in finding Canadian bands that he could manage, because he's like, yeah, the government has these grants, and you'd help their career or whatever. And I don't know how it worked out, but that was the first I had heard of it. And I think they do that in the United States to some extent, but it's just, there's so many people in the United States. I don't know how easy it is to actually get one of those, but
yeah, I mean, it's like the amount of people that live in Canada is the amount of people that live in California.
right, exactly.
Different
Yeah,
situation.
totally. So you get this music video, and lucky for you guys, you guys are doing the right thing at the right time, and it seems to be getting traction, and so that leads to bigger shows, and so do things just start to snowball from there?
Yeah, I mean, I think kind of maybe it's like something to do with timing. There's like a bit of a like cultural shift happening, like maybe what I said about this reactionary music, and that's happening in the States. And then so like, when like Thursday or these bands like come up to Canada, we play with them, and then we start playing in the States with them. And yeah, so we start hitting the road with like bands like that and Under Oath and My Chemical Romance, and for all of us, it's kind of starting to ramp up. And
Yeah.
and I think maybe specifically at home, people looked at it like this shit's happening, and this kind of music starting to pop off everywhere. But like we're their band, like
Right.
we're a Canadian band doing it.
Sure.
And so maybe there's some sort of sense of like pride in that. And as we start touring more of the world, we've got like our Toronto shows and on Canada shows have become really big. And that's like this anchor that allows the band to tour the world. Like we can go to Europe for the first time, lose a bunch of money, play small shows, come home, and like know when we do those Christmas shows, like there's going to be people there. And so like the support of like our like hometown and like around Toronto really propels us to be able to like tour everywhere in the world. And we just tour our fucking asses off. And somehow, like there's a lot of hard work in it, but there's a lot of luck. There's a lot of timing. There's definitely just some magic and stuff that you can't even predict, and who fucking knows. And if I were to do it all over again, I don't know, like cumulatively all these decisions somehow led us to like, it's 20 years later and we like play the hockey arenas at home, which is,
Yeah.
I don't even know how it happened.
That's awesome.
Talk
about dream venues, Canadians in a hockey venue, right?
Oh man, like, yeah, like that's like, there's been some pretty big moments, like being at like, my dad's always had seasons tickets for the Sabres because we're close to the border here. So I've like grown up going to Sabres games, and like being at the arena, and like one of our songs comes on with him, and he's just like, okay.
Yeah.
It's okay. It's okay you didn't go to university.
Yeah, exactly. So like you said, you guys have had a 20-year career since then, which is just crazy, and you guys, your name is synonymous with kind of that time period and scene. And I don't want to forget to talk about your newest endeavors, which is, you've been writing musics for soundtracks, which is awesome. Your newest soundtrack is for Random Acts of Violence, which is a newer horror film. But I also, I do want to talk about that. But before we get to that, I mean, you guys have also been working on Last of the Enforcers and Dark Side of the Ring. And I got to say, and you were involved with the Dark Side of the Ring project. And I've been watching that show. I'm kind of, I used to watch, wrestling when I was growing up. So that show is, it's on Vice, and it's a great show. So tell me a little bit about,
like, so, I mean, I guess, all of this composing stuff really happened like through like one specific night. Like I think I said something nice about the first Goon movie, like on Twitter. When I was in,
I watched that Goon movie too, just randomly. I was bored and I rented it on iTunes years ago, and I thought it was good. And so I know you did the soundtrack for the second one. So yeah, go ahead.
yeah, I mean, I think I watched Goon in Australia and I was like feeling very like homesick watching it. It's like it's hilarious and it's like very Canadian and I think I said something nice about it on Twitter, and then the film's writer and one of the actors, Jay Baruchel, um, reached out to me and was like, "Hey man, thank you so much. Like I've seen you guys play a bunch of times in Montreal. If you're ever up here, like let's go watch a Habs game." And I found myself in Montreal like a month later. I ended up like going over to his house and we like got a pizza and watched a hockey game. And he's just like the best fucking dude ever. He's just like, I don't know. We kind of just like we like met each other and we're kind of just like, oh, we best friends.
Yeah.
And so, that night we just kind of like started hanging out. And also Jason Eisner, who created Dark Side of the Ring, came by that night as well. So
Okay.
I met both those guys.
Ah.
Jay was, Jason came over. He was filming a film called Turbo Kid. And he was in Montreal.
I've seen Turbo Kid.
Yeah.
Cool.
So he was making that film. I met him and we just like got stoned and watched hockey and ate a pizza.
Nice.
And yeah, I just kind of became better and better buds with those guys. And Jay started working on Goon Lost the Enforcers probably about a year after that. And he had Jason, who did Dark Side, edit the film. And so Jay asked me to do some music for it. And, what started out as maybe me doing a few tunes for like when they're in the arena, just kind of blossomed into me doing like a lot of music for it. And so I worked with those dudes a bunch on that process. And it was like amazing. And like Jay Baruchel really opened the door for me to kind of start doing that stuff. And very organically, like one project has just led to another. And for the last 5 years, I've probably done like 3 or 4 films and a few TV shows and a few
video games too. Yeah.
And but it's really been a really natural thing. Like this guy working on Jason was editing Goon. And then when Jason started making Dark Side, like he asked me to work with him on that. And then like it's been this really natural thing. And then Jason had worked with the creative director at Ubisoft on this video game, and he introduced us to him. And then I worked on Far Cry 5, and it's been this very natural thing like that where one project rolls into the next. And it's really cool to write music for film and for a video game and just to picture. It's a very different thing than working with a band, and but it's really rewarding in the same way. Like when you see everything line up, it's really fucking cool. And it's something like a dream I've always wanted to. I mean, especially getting to work on Random Acts, like it's definitely the dream of everyone that plays music, or I think especially heavy music. If I could only score a horror film,
sure.
And because it just allows you to make music that's scary, and bleak and unique, and certainly Jay loves music like that and allowed for us to dig into it more.
Totally. So, yeah, I mean, I was gonna say it seems like a natural progression, from a kid who was introduced to the Misfits, kind of horror genre punk rock, who's now making horror film music. It's awesome. And wow, I mean, all of that from a tweet, you said?
I guess kind of like
like if you
started it.
If you think about it, right? You're just like, wow, that was a good movie. Good job, guys. And then all of a sudden it's like, let's hang out. And then it's like, oh, you want to do some music for a movie? And then oh, and by the way, I know this guy at Ubisoft for video games. And I mean, that's crazy.
Yeah, it's cool though. Like, I mean, like Jay and like that kind of crew of people that I've worked on all those projects with, it's like, we're also like good friends. So what's kind of nice is like when we have these conversations about music, I'm like, oh my God, have you heard this? And then he's like, check this shit out. It's like we're doing that all the time, but like we're also mentally like making these playlists for like Jay's next project.
Right,
and,
right.
I'm like, oh, sick. Like I could do something like that for like, yeah, I'm like, so all these conversations about music where we're like having a barbecue at his house, like end up being the like, these are the music supervision conversations that like how have the end result of going into the film, which is like really nice. And I mean, I've been lucky that, you know, with Alexis, where I've just been able to make a bunch of music with my friends
Yeah.
and travel. And I really feel like similarly, like with working with Jay has been like the next evolution of that. And it's a lot more rewarding when you know, like are making something you're passionate about with your buddies.
Yeah. Yeah. It's so much easier to just to relax and create when you know everyone's on the same page kind of mentally. And when you're
Sure.
just hanging out, eating pizza, drinking beer, you know, talking punk rock or whatever it might be, it's a lot easier to just kind of go with the flow. I do, you know, so yeah, it's crazy just listening to that Random Acts of Violence score. I mean, that's a lot of music too, you know. That's, you know, 20 tracks nearly on that. So that's a lot of work that you're doing too.
It's certainly a different thing, you know, when you stop writing for songs and you start writing for scenes,
Mm,
something. But it's in one way, like I think melodies always come really easy to me. And so that's something where I certainly find composing, uh, it just kind of it clicks, and it's not the most difficult thing in the world. But yeah, you are creating a huge amount of music. Um, but it's really interesting, and especially now, you know, when I'm like talking about this score and the fact that, you know, like Dine Alone is putting it out and pressed it to vinyl, and you can listen to it on Spotify and all these things separate from the film. The music really takes on a different life, like when you separate it from the picture. And like I really love listening to film scores, so it's really cool that this one is like out in the world like that in a real way, because you know it changes it. It's, you know, I love like driving and listening to scores, or just even like walking. You know, it's walking around listening to something, and like especially like if you're listening to the Random Acts of Violence soundtrack and it's like sunny outside, like all of a sudden things start feeling real spooky.
I was gonna say, yeah. I mean, driving alone on a dark night, you know, on a abandoned road, listening to a horror soundtrack could definitely get your mind going.
Yeah, it's like music for dark highways.
Right, right, exactly. Well, super cool. I have some friends who write music for media, and it's interesting because sometimes it could just be, you know, some scenes just require, you know, like one little, you know, just maybe one drone or something like that, and and with just a couple accents here and there, and others of course are so much bigger. So yeah, it's totally different than writing these structured, you know, verse chorus, let's get it thick and let's get it good, you know. It's way more nuanced, I feel like.
Well, certainly you need to, I think you just need to do what's best for the film, right? So sometimes that's definitely it being like carpet
Yeah,
under it, you know,
yeah,
and like, and really restraining it and making it not the focal point because it shouldn't be, which is definitely a learning curve. And what's a real trip with writing for video games is run into a few situations where the music director has been like, this can't be so catchy. This level is really difficult.
uh-huh.
So people are going to be playing this for a long time. Like they can't hear that again and again. They'll start to lose their mind. So like
That's funny.
that's another real like strange way of approaching it. Like how does it evolve, and yeah, or writing the music for like the pause screen.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
like something where you like you're just like you obviously pause it, like leave the room, but you can kind of hear it, or you're doing
Yeah.
something else. So it's interesting, like being able to write for specific things like that you know are very different than the way you're absorbing the music is really different.
Sure. Yeah, and it gets kind of goes against some of the more natural instincts you have as a coming from a band. You're like, I know it's sketchy.
Sure,
That's
yeah.
why I made it that way. But yeah, yeah, it's like tone down how good this song is. You know, you know. I did want to talk to you a little bit about you singing with Gallows, because it's a band I love. How did that happen?
Alexis toured with Gallows a lot.
Okay.
Did Warp Tour with them like twice. We toured Australia with them. They're kind of like my buddies I would have a beer with when we would go play in London.
Yeah.
Um, and then very like kind of just the stars lining up. Their singer quit, and it was right around the time Alexis was like, we toured ourselves into the ground, and we were like talking about breaking up.
Mm.
We're talking about not doing it anymore. And Gallows reached out and was like, hey, I don't know if this is a crazy idea, but what do you think about coming over and like writing some music with us and maybe like seeing if you want to be in the band? And I was like, this is crazy timing wise. Like, I don't think Alexis is maybe even going to happen anymore. Like, book the plane ticket on Monday.
Nice. Yeah.
And so, yeah, I just like really jumped into that, like kind of like entirely for like 5 years almost. And I was like living over in London essentially. We played like a lot of fucking shows. And it's a real trip. Those guys are out of their goddamn minds. It was
good.
at a time when I really wanted to be out of my mind.
Yeah.
It was good.
Yeah, it's that's one of the rad things about that band is they sound dangerous, and that's when you're listening to that kind of music, you kind of want to feel that authenticity. So it's really cool. So yeah, that's awesome that you got to hang out in the UK for 5 years or whatever it is.
Yeah, it was a trip. And like we like definitely slowed down the amount of touring like we were doing because we were doing a lot. But just like for the last like we hadn't like played any shows in a bit, but we went out and did about 2 weeks last year, and all the shows were fucking psychotic. So we were supposed to go on tour like last summer, but COVID had different plans.
Sure.
But yeah, all the shows were such like messy chaos that I don't think there's like any way we'll stop doing it. And it'd be nice to like, because it's been a while too, like to get together and write some music and like hit it again. So I think when the world heals itself, I'll definitely be like touring a lot with Gallows and Alexis.
Nice.
Yeah.
Well, we'll look forward to that, Wade. Hey, it was a real pleasure talking to you, man. You've had a crazy career, man. So congrats on all the success and all the cool things you're doing. We like to end the interview by asking if you had one piece of advice for aspiring artists, what would it be?
I think really, if I could just pass on the knowledge that my 17-year-old goth guitar teacher told me when I was
Dennis.
Dennis was just like, it is all possible. Like anything you want to do is possible. And especially now, like there's less gatekeepers. You can make your own records. You can design your own art. You can put it out yourself. There's nothing stopping you from being creative and like getting your art out to the world. And like that's very, very exciting, and it's possible. I mean, if like a bunch of kids from St. Catharines, Ontario can like tour the world and make platinum records, like it's a fucking shouldn't be a real thing, but it is. So it's like anything is conceivably possible. I score movies because I tweeted at Jay. I don't even know if I tweeted at Jay. And I've scored a bunch of films. And I don't know. Yeah, I think you never know what's going to happen in your life. But if you just like keep trying to make music authentically and honestly, like good things will happen.
Yeah, I definitely think you are illustrative of that. And I don't know, in the short time we've talked, I feel like you're a real personable kind of dude. And it seems like that may have helped you along the way. I mean, because you were fast friends with a couple of the guys that you've been working with on all these soundtracks. You were somehow convincing store owners to let you play at their restaurants after hours and give you alcohol. You were booking, bands, which gave you the ability to book yourself with bands once they came around town. So, do you think that's played a part in your career?
What's that expression? You shake a lot of hands on your way up.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. I think like a lot, like creative projects are a lot of time like hanging with people. And so you definitely don't want to be spending time with people you don't fucking get along with. as far as like, I don't know. I think I've been lucky that that's probably helped, but I think I've always surrounded myself with like-minded people though.
Mm,
So I've always been working with like the guy who I used to skate with,
right.
or someone that's like a friend of mine that also has the same interests. Like,
Sure.
not like the guys that, when the band was fucking like blowing up, the people that reached out to us and were like, hey, like you got to come out to LA and like
Mm,
make this record and be with these people and like do these drugs and like blah, 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 blah. Like I knew that was not right.
right. Right.
I don't know, maybe that stuff would have helped in a like very quick sense, but I feel like those are probably also the decisions that probably would lead me to like not be playing music now.
Sure.
So I don't know, you just got to find your people. And I've
Right.
been lucky that I have,
Right. Knowing who your people are, and when you're with your people, it's a lot easier to be personable and just your natural self.
Yeah, for real. And I also think too, like when you're collaborating with people that you like and see eye to eye with, like, I mean, that's the enjoyable part, it's not to like, it's also not under the like trying to be like, look, we're gonna do this, is gonna be the biggest fucking thing in the world. Like Jason didn't make Dark Side of the Ring to be like he wasn't like, I'm gonna make the most watched shit on Vice ever.
Uh-huh.
But it happened to be the most watched thing on Vice that Vice has ever done,
Wow.
because he's so passionate about music. And like what Jason really wants is like to share his love of wrestling with people, and the sincerity and the like real stories, like humanizing these people. And like that's what people connect with. And same
Yeah.
thing with like, I mean, Alexis is like a fucking, it's insane that the band got like music videos played on TV or played on the radio. Like none of it would lend itself to that happening. And we certainly didn't try and do that. And maybe that's the reason like that did happen.
Sure.
So I don't know. You gotta make music selfishly.
Yeah. It's a it's a whole other way of saying, be authentic, because you will find your people through your music too. You make the music that you want to make, and you'll find the right crowd for it.
And even if
you know,
nothing comes out of it, at least you've worked on something you feel good about with like the homies.
yeah, exactly. It's an outlet just like any other thing.
Bringing it backward.